So I see we have the whole monkey gang here. Who are these faces? Is that Don Dixon? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it is. The
it is.
man who lived in the time of the organ grinders.
That's right. I
That's
did.
him.
I saw that was inspired by seeing a monkey with the organ grinder up in Cullowhee, North Carolina. That song.
I think you should go ahead and elaborate on that story. This is the song clip that Don has sent us for our show.
Uh, when I was about 12, my father went back to college. He was in his 50s. He went back to get his master's in education, and I went up to visit him. He was going in summer school, and in Cullowhee, North Carolina, and I went up and visited, and there was a little street fair going on, and the street fair was an organ grinder, all dressed up, and he had his little monkey with his red suit, and the little monkey, came over to me and held out his cup, and written on the cup in handwritten note was pennies poison for monkey. So I turned and I looked up at my dad, and I put my penny back and threw a dime in the cup, and I said, Dad, why are pennies poison for the monkey? And Dad said, pennies aren't poison for the monkey. That monkey just wanted your dime. So I always, for the rest of my life, I've been thinking about that monkey. So that's, I'm almost 70. That's a long time to be thinking about that same little. And so a few years ago, it occurred to me that I would write a song about a guy who had an encounter with a monkey when he ran away to join the circus.
Yeah. So I heard you play it maybe last year, and we were just really taken by that. And I think I heard you play it at the John Baer book
Oh,
launch.
okay. I could have done it there. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And of course, John is somebody that I used to go to Sunday school, and
No idea how y'all
oh,
knew.
yeah, I've known John since I was about, 8, 9. His
Wow.
parents, are educators from the town I grew up in. So it was just crazy that somehow it came back around that you two were connected in that way.
Did y'all go to college at the same time?
He went to UNC, I went to State.
Okay.
In
Dad
fact,
came from Pennsylvania and moved
yeah.
in.
Okay. Well, John used to borrow my fake ID to go see you play, of all people, back at the pier in the old days. So
Girls never borrow fake IDs. It's
don't
wrong.
go to bars unless you're playing music. Sadly, they've already gotten a little bit of that experience, but we always get the waiver, and we're their parents. As you can see, somehow Ella left the chat and she's joined me. Why don't you slide a little closer?
Yeah, I don't know if I can slide that
There's a little monkey stool over there that you can pull in. See it? Okay. Well, anyway, Don, we always try to kick off the show. Well, I say always. This is the first time. We hope it's a tradition. But could you raise your right hand? And we'd like for you to do the secret monkey pledge. And we're asking our viewers to, I'm going to have it on the screen and they can repeat after you. Basically, just raise your right paw, your right hoof, your right tentacle, whatever you might have. And it's based on the Buck Owens pledge to country music. And we like to swear you into the club. So take it away, Don.
I shall sing no song that is not a secret monkey song. I shall make no record that is not a secret monkey record. I refuse to be known as anything but a secret monkey singer. I am proud to be associated with the secret monkey music. Secret monkey music and secret monkey fans made me what I am today, and I shall not forget it.
Amen. Welcome to the club.
Thank you,
Wow.
Buck, for writing. Nice.
Well, the club just got one larger. We're going to keep adding to this. We might even go door to door with this thing. You never know.
Okay, good.
Well, Don, so you've already mentioned the clip. Is it called "I Live"? I lived in the time of monkey grinders.
The little collection. It's a 6-song collection. It's called "I Lived in the Time of Organ Grinders."
Organ
The
grinders.
song is just called "Organ Grinder."
Gotcha. Well, we can't wait to show it to the people. Did you make that specifically for this show, or is that something you
I
have?
made that for the show, no other reason.
Oh my.
And that's because all of the above. I just told you my pledge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're there. Well, Don, I feel like most of the people who know me and our audience know who you are, but just for the ones who don't know, Don Dixon is a record producer, and he's been, gosh, producing records for how long?
Well, the first record I ever got a production credit for was in 1971, maybe. It was even though I sort of had produced those couple of early Arrogance things that were slightly earlier than that, but it was a record called Operator by R&B guy named Toby King.
Okay. Okay. And give us an idea of who else you've worked with.
Just REM and the Smithereens and Marshall Crenshaw and Marty Jones. And I mean, really, there are hundreds. I would hate to leave anybody out. The X-Teens, which was a great North Carolina band I loved.
Yeah.
Blazers, a North Carolina band I loved.
Yeah.
Lots of those. Mitch Easter, Let's Active. I've helped them over the years.
Right. Well, we've got Lila looking all lonely down there. Lila, I think you had a question or two. Why don't you pop a question on Don?
Okay.
A little louder.
Okay. So, one of my questions is, which instruments do you play?
Well, I think of myself primarily as a bass player, but my first instrument was actually trombone, and I learned how to play piano and guitar and other things. But I really, as a kid, I really gravitated toward bass and saved up my money and bought a bass when I was about 13. And I had just been playing trombone for a little while. And the band I wanted to belong to in my little town in South Carolina where I grew up needed a bass player. So that was also impetus for me to be a bassist.
Oh, nice beginning. I think Ella had a question or two.
Yeah.
The mic here.
So I guess the being in that first band that needed a bass player inspired you to be a musician in some ways, but were there any other influences?
Well, I mean, I was, influenced by tons of stuff, but when I always sang and I always tried to make up songs, even as a tiny boy. I have a pretty good recording I made in a voice booth in Jacksonville Beach in 1956 of Tutti Frutti, which was the Little Richard hit at the time. It was a couple months old when I did my version. But I always sang kind of like I sing now. So I was influenced by a lot of that early rock and roll stuff, and I was influenced by blues and jazz, and a lot of great. I have a really broad list of references, and I learned how to play bass to listening to Paul McCartney and listening to this guy named Norm Sundlam, who played with a band called the Kingsmen, who had a big hit called Louie Louie.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love Louie Louie. That was the first song I learned how to play on bass.
Yeah, I taught her how to play that on bass, and I haven't taught her a thing since. It's all been her.
If I ever speak to Norm Sundlam again, I'll tell him that to check out Secret Monkey Weekend. He lives in Portland. They were a Portland band, and I did get to meet him one time.
Lila, you got another question?
Yeah, this is really off the topic of music, but do you have any pet animals? If so, what are their names?
Yes, well, our two old cats that were both 18 have both recently died, but they were spay and neuter. They were brother and sister, and they were called Spay and Neuter, and or Space Bay and Nunu is what we actually call them day to day. But we still have our beautiful little girl dog named Cookie. So I'll see if I can find Cookie before the show's over.
Oh, neat. We've got Maybelle, Merida, and Mimi, and only the dog is allowed in here. The cats, they own the rest of the place.
So same thing, y'all had two cats and a dog?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we were like for a long time.
Well, when you were mentioning people that you produced, for some reason I remember, maybe I'm just misremembering, but did you and T-Bone Burnett either collaborate on a project together, or did you produce him?
I never produced T-Bone, but he and I both produced a guy named Tommy Keene,
Oh, okay.
who was his first sort of real record. He was a DC kid, and he had gotten signed to that record bar label that
Yeah.
was run by
Dolphin.
and Josh Greer was
Yeah.
run. It's called Dolphin,
Yeah.
and Josh asked me if I would be willing to work with T-Bone on this stuff, and I said sure, because T-Bone at the time had done a couple things I really liked, and I think he was working on a Los Lobos record called "How Will the Wolves Survive" around the time we did the Tommy Keene stuff. But
Right.
Tommy got signed by Geffen before the official kind of record that T-Bone and I made came out. Some things kind of trickled out over the years, EPs. And
Yeah. So that was the Places That Are Gone era for him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one of the songs we did. Actually.
Gotcha. I was going to mention something to you, and this is sort of a trick question, trivia question. Let me see how I had it phrased when I wrote it down. Okay, here's the trivia question. What did Georgetown basketball coaching legend John Thompson, Don Dixon, and Lila, after she's washed her hair, have in common?
We all went to Howard University. No. Where did John even go to school? I remember John vividly. He seemed like a great guy. I never knew him, but the only guy, he was a Maryland coach, right? I did know Lefty Drizel, though.
Okay.
When Lefty coached at Davidson, I went to his basketball camp, and
wow.
I never knew John. I don't know. What do we have in common?
You have known to have wore towels around your head.
John wore a towel on his head.
Oh, maybe on his shoulder. And at some point it was like, Don has just gotten out of the shower and he's making music now. So
that started from tennis playing. That was a way I started wearing that on my head for tennis back when I was in high school.
Oh, okay. That's where it came from.
So I developed that Shimada look.
Okay. So you had an athletic background like I did.
I did. I was, varsity in several sports, but I was the only thing I got offered a college scholarship for was swimming.
Okay. Wow. Still impressive. Ella?
Yeah, I had another producing question. So I've heard that you were in talks to be one of the producers on Nirvana's breakthrough album, Nevermind. Is that true?
Correct. It's kind of a complicated setup, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. The guy who had signed them to Geffen was named Gary Gersh, and he had been, I didn't really know him, we weren't friends, but he had been kind of following me for, at that point, years and years, and I had that was well after we had success with REM and the Smithereens and all those bands. Plus, I had already met Butch Vig, the guy who made the demos that had been sent to me by Gary Gersh to see if I was interested in them. And I loved the demos. And Butch had been in a band called Firetown, and they had talked to me about producing them when they were signed to Atlantic. So I already knew who Butch was. We weren't friends, but I'd met him and we had talked. So I flew out to Seattle and spent a couple of days with the band. I really liked them, and I thought it was great. And they had just finished. I think some of the songs on the demo were like Lithium. I mean, there were like 4 songs that all ended up on the record on the demo they sent me. But Smells Like Teen Spirit, when I was out there, still didn't have words or anything, but they had the song. They played the song and sort of mumbled some stuff. But so they said, yeah, okay, that's great. So we planned to make a record, but I think we asked for way too much money, and they were smart enough to not pay me all that money I asked for.
Oh.
So and just use Butch, which worked out great. And Butch really is brilliant and has made great records. He created that band Garbage, which you may be familiar with after that. And so, you know, he was a really interesting, good guy. And he was going to work on the record with me anyway. I'd liked the way he sounded. The band loved him. We were going to record it at Reflection. We had time booked and everything. But they just decided they didn't want to give me all that money. And I never blamed them for it. I thought they were right. You know, it was kind of one of those things where I don't think we weren't being greedy. We were just sort of asking for regular major label stuff that we had been doing. But they were smart enough to want to hang on to some of it, I think. And
Yeah, wow.
But so, yes, I was up for that record.
I'd heard just a smidge of that, but never the whole story. That's quite fascinating. We're probably going to wrap up by saying one or two things regarding that. We did play a song with you. In fact, today is the 23rd, 24th.
23rd.
It was a year ago. We played a song.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Where we played at that thing for John?
That's right, in Bibe in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, that was
roughly
fun.
a year ago this week. And so that fulfilled one of my ambitions. The people that I was listening to when I was her age,
right,
eventually over time, just being in the right place at the right time, I got to make music with them. Chris Stamey, I played with him for 3 or 4 years, and Robert with the Hanks, Robert Kirkland from Arrogance. I was backing him up with the Hanks for about a year, and Peter Holzapfel has played in my Kinks band for 3 years.
The Well-Respected Men.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're on hiatus. We're coming back, but we're just taking some time off. Everybody's got their own music happening, which is the important thing and the priority. And of course, Mitch, it's interesting. He played a Kinks show with us one time, and he sang, I think, Tired of Waiting or something like that. No, Till the End of the Day. And we backed him up at the Carolina Theater in Durham. And I think Mitch played bass a few times when I was playing with Chris. So anyway, all of you guys, it's just all come full circle, and you're our first guest, and we'd like to get the rest of you guys in on it.
So excited to be your first guest, honored. And all I can say is keep rocking. Don't get sick. Wear your masks. Don't listen to this falderall. Okay, good.
I was going to wear this to cover up this awful shaving accident I had, which I did in the promo, but it is here and it's ready at all times for the right reasons.
Good.
All right.
Have fun. I can't wait to see the show.
But Don, ever thankful, and you stay safe, and we'll keep up with you, and let us know when you play online or wherever. All right.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Here.
Bye.
Bye.
I think you have to hit end meeting.